When we think of 911 calls, we imagine them as lifelines, someone calling for help, dispatchers sending rescue teams, and emergencies being resolved. But sometimes the calls that come through are anything but normal. Some are terrifying, some are unexplained, and some leave behind more questions than answers. Today, we're diving into the most disturbing real-life 911 calls that will haunt you long after this video ends. Listener discretion is advised. Segment 1. The chilling call from the Watcher house. The case. In 2014, the Broaddus family moved into their dream home in Westfield, New Jersey. Shortly after, they began receiving letters from an unknown stalker who called themselves the Watcher. The letters contained creepy details about their family, including the names of their children and references to past owners. The Broadduses eventually contacted the police and made multiple 911 calls, reporting a stranger lurking around their property late at night. The disturbing call. Excerpt. There's someone standing outside just watching the house. They're not moving. They've been standing there for nearly an hour. I don't think they even blink. Outcome. Despite an extensive investigation, the identity of the Watcher was never discovered. The family was so terrified that they never moved into the home permanently and eventually sold it. The Haunting of 657 Boulevard, 2018. A house should be a place of comfort, but for the Broaddus family, it became a nightmare that still has no explanation. Segment 2. The Help Me. Call from a disappearing woman. The case. On August 18, 2013, 32-year-old Brandon Lawson from Texas disappeared after calling 911 in a panic. His call was barely understandable, but fragments of it suggested something sinister was happening. He could be heard saying, "Please hurry, I'm in the middle of a field. I ran into something. We're not talking to them. I need the cops." Theories. Some believe Brandon was running from someone, while others think he may have been injured and disoriented. His body was never found, and his case remains unsolved to this day. The disappearance of Brandon Lawson. A man vanishes, a chilling phone call is left behind, and a mystery remains that no one has been able to solve. Segment 3. The unsettling 911 call from an unknown child. The call. In 2008, a 911 dispatcher in Florida received a call from a young child whispering for help. The child, sounding no older than 5 or 6, said, "They're coming. I'm hiding. Please help." The dispatcher asked for more details, but after a few seconds, there was only silence. Investigation. Authorities tried to trace the call, but it was made from a disposable phone with no records. No missing child report matched the voice. To this day, no one knows who made the call or what happened to them. 2008 unidentified 911 call. Was it a hoax, or was it a real child in danger? And if so, where are they now? Segment 4. The woman who called 911 during her own murder. The case. In 2015, 48-year-old Denise Amber Lee was kidnapped from her Florida home. Hours later, she managed to steal her kidnapper's phone and dialed 911. The recording is horrifying. Denise whispers for help, saying she's in a moving car and describing her captor. The call. "Please help me. I don't know where I am." The outcome. Tragically, police were minutes too late. Her body was found later that day. Her kidnapper, Michael King, was arrested and sentenced to death. Despite her bravery, Denise's call came too late, but her case led to stronger 911 emergency protocols nationwide. Segment 5. The most mysterious 911 call ever. A phone call from a dead man? The case. In 2008, a man named Charles Peck was in a tragic train accident in California. He was presumed dead on impact, yet, over the next 12 hours, his phone dialed his family members over 35 times. When they answered, there was nothing but static. When rescuers finally reached the wreckage, they found Peck's body. He had died instantly. Theories. Did his phone somehow malfunction and call people randomly? Was this a supernatural event, his spirit reaching out one last time? Or was there another explanation that we'll never know? Los Angeles Times. The unexplained mystery of Charles Peck's phone calls. A phone call from beyond the grave? Whatever happened, it remains one of the most chilling mysteries of all time. Segment 6. The "There's Someone in My House" call. The case. In 2011, 32-year-old Ruth Price from California made a frantic 911 call from her home, saying that a man was lurking outside her house. She begged the dispatcher to send help, but became increasingly frantic as footsteps grew closer. The call takes a terrifying turn when the phone is ripped from her hands mid-sentence, followed by chilling screams. The call. Excerpt. "Yes, I'd like to report a suspicious man outside my house. I think he's watching me." Pause. "Oh my God, he's coming to the door? No, no, no." Aha! Theories and investigation. No official police records exist confirming what happened to Ruth Price after the call. Some believe she was attacked and killed, while others think the recording may have been a dispatcher training tape based on real events. Regardless of its origins, this remains one of the most terrifying 911 recordings ever captured. California Emergency Dispatch Training Archives. Was this a real murder or just a chilling training call? Either way, it's the kind of call that makes you double-check your locks at night. Segment 7. The woman who called 911. From a coffin, the case. In 2010, a distressed woman in Oklahoma called 911, saying she had been kidnapped and buried alive. She could barely breathe, saying she was trapped underground in a box. The dispatcher tried to keep her calm, but the connection became weaker as dirt muffled the sound. The call, excerpt. Please, I don't know where I am. They put me in a box. I can't breathe. Please help me. Please. The outcome authorities searched frantically, but because the woman didn't know where she was, it was almost impossible to track her location. The call suddenly cut out, and she was never found. To this day, no body matching her description has ever been identified. Theories. Some believe it was a hoax, but the terror in her voice suggests otherwise. Could it have been human trafficking, a kidnapping gone wrong, or something even darker? Oklahoma Missing Persons Database. Unidentified 911. Call. This case remains one of the most terrifying and tragic mysteries. Was she buried alive? And if so, who did it? 911 calls are supposed to bring help, but sometimes they only bring more questions. From missing people to chilling last words, these real-life emergency calls remain some of the most disturbing mysteries ever recorded. Which one haunted you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more true crime mysteries and unexplained cases.